Hi, everyone. My name is John Doring, and this is ZoomTRAK. Good Saturday afternoon, all ye N-scalers everywhere. Welcome to the June 2026 edition of ZoomTRAK by NRail. I know you know it. NRail is the organization promoting N-scale model railroading. That's N-TRAK and T-TRAK and Fremo N, club layouts, home layouts, no layouts. Whatever your pleasure, if it's in N-scale, it's all about us. NRail is the knowledge, camaraderie, and joy of model railroading in the normal scale. So again, welcome everyone. Got a great lineup this Saturday afternoon to share with you today. We'll start with any announcements, if anyone has any announcements. And we'll talk about the N Sand group with Steve Englehart. Terry Moore's here to talk about reverser cables. And then it's T-TRAK Goes to School with Dan Smart. And as always, we'll end around the top of the hour with our monthly participation poll. So we'll start with announcements if anyone has any announcements. Anything anybody has to share? Okay, sounds like we're all okay there. Don't forget you can put questions in the chat along the way, and I'll do my best to field those. Others are watching that as well. So next up, Steve, tell us something about N Sand.
Okay, let me get some pictures up. Can't tell a story without a good picture, right?
Let's see them.
Okay. N Sand in Scottsdale, Arizona. So, in 1973, some blockbuster things happened. The Vietnam War peace accords were signed. Some of you remember that little event. Roe versus Wade, Skylab launch, the Miami Dolphins completed a perfect season, and the biggest deal of all deals, N Sand Model Railroad Club was formed. Whoops, where'd the slide go?
We're saying it.
We still see the first one.
I don't, just a second. I think that's me. Yeah, I can't see the slides anymore.
Huh.
Anybody got a suggestion why I can't see the slides? If you can?
Well, let's see.
How about if I do this there? Now what happens? That's strange. When I'm clicking on the slide, it's taking me to my homepage.
Maybe, can you not see it yet?
Are you
I was able to get it up,
clicker?
and then it's taking me to my homepage.
Are you using a PowerPoint?
Yeah. So if I click share, get to my homepage and click on the slide that's supposed to be up. Let's see if I can start from scratch.
Maybe start over, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, sorry. So we're formed in 1973. We did N-TRAK almost immediately. And we got the credit actually from N-TRAK for developing the Green Line. We moved to Scottsdale McCormick Stillman Ranch Railroad Park in 1978 in the old chicken bunkhouse. McCormick, if you know the McCormick machinery family, McCormick and a guy Stillman both had big ranches in Scottsdale, and they gave a bunch of land to Scottsdale to form a park. So we went in there and we went into the chicken and bunkhouse, and this thing was actually formed as a railroad park. So in the bunkhouse, there was an O club, an HO club, and an N club, and you could get into the N scale room, but the O and HO you could only look into through windows. We are the oldest continuously operating N-Track club in the country. In 2001, or 2011, I'm sorry, a donor gave the park $3 million to build a layout only building. Now, the operations of the park are run by the city, as mowing the grass, that kind of thing, taking care of the buildings. But the operations of what I'd call the entertainment venue part of it are done by something called the Scottsdale Mechanical Society. So that's separate from the city, because trust me, the city did not give us $3 million to build a building. Cities don't do that. Um, but it's all scales are in it, but only N, HO, and O are featured and have big layouts. So N, HO, and O each has a layout of 1,280 square feet. And then something I really love is each layout also has a 270-foot square workroom. That's all separate from the rest of the facility. All the layouts have automated trains that run when there's no one there. There's tons of automation and lights. And we took our old N-Track layout, we moved it into the building, and it's the center section of our layout now. It's a big U in the middle of a C shape. And the city won't let us take that N-Track out of the building anymore. So it's a mix of DC and TCC capable. It's standardized to DigiTRAKs. The theme is Arizona, and it further themes on the 5 Cs of Arizona that every kid in school must learn of cotton, copper, climate, cattle, and citrus. Not including yards and sidings, the total trackage is about 1,072 feet or 35 scale miles. For years, Sun and Sand was known for special runs such as tankers and boxcars. Some of you remember at one time we did an 8-car Route 66 set that was really special. We don't pay any rent. Matter of fact, they give us a small stipend every year. McCormick has won Best Park in the U.S. awards. It's 30 acres, all themed railroad. It has a prototype 260 steamer that doesn't run. And it has a Ronald Elmanson Pullman car that was used by every president from Hoover to Eisenhower. So I'm going to give you a warning. Be really jealous. You're going to be able to hardly stand this, I think. That's the building. It's 10 years, like I said, it's 10 years old, $3 million, built only for model railroads. There's a police substation on the property. The police chief said he wanted space in this building. He was told by the donor, Chief, you're not getting any space unless you're running model trains. The city said we want some space in the building for our city offices. They were told the same thing, no space if you're not running trains. The donor held their feet to the fire and made him keep the municipal stuff out of the building and made it only model trains. And like I said, every scale is represented, but only 3 of them have big layouts. So we've just entered the building. We're looking from the front toward the back. We're looking over the O, then over the N, then to the HO clear in the back. So now we've moved to where we're looking at part of the N back toward the front of the building. So the arrow on the left is pointing to the open pit copper mine. It has tracks that run around the outside and inside. So that's our copper part of Arizona. The arrow to the right is pointing to our DigiTRAKs panel that is in all wooden cabinetry. We've moved just a little bit to the left. The arrow to the right, the one furthest down is pointing to the DC control. There again, all customized wooden cabinetry. That other I'm going to talk about in a minute. I'm going to skip it right now. But this is more here you got a really good look at the N track that's a U right in the middle of this big C. And then here's another shot of the layout. This rough red line here on top is a Z-scale layout. The arrow about in the middle pointing to the white thing, that's our climate. That city right there is Aspirin, and it's operating a ski lift. You'd think here in Arizona would have a golf course, huh? But we didn't. We saved the space. Almost straight to the left of across the aisle, you can see a citrus grove. Just to the top of the citrus grove is a cotton field. Just to the bottom where you can't see it is a cattle ranch. Not a cattle ranch, but cattle feeding facility. That's how we're getting our C's in. And then there's an arrow clear up the top pointing to a door. So let's go see what's in that door. So this is the workroom. So beside each layout, there's a workroom. Like I said, 270 square feet. All the workrooms have these display cases beside them. Right beside the door, you can display stuff. We have our old things in where we made, like I said, special run cars and stuff. That's what we have displayed in there. The other layouts have some of their treasures there. But you can see our workroom. It's all custom made wood cabinetry. All three of the workshops look like this. They all have custom made cabinetry in them. I hope you're jealous yet. So let's take some more look at the layout. And now, first, we're at the top of the picture. You'll see some glass, 3 glass panes. Actually, that's 3 stories. And that's a 3-level Z-scale layout. And one thing that's really unique about this thing is that it's got a helix. And you think, well, so what, Steve? Everybody's got a helix. This helix, they had no intention of trying to run a Z-scale train onto that helix and have the helix big enough to run all the way up to the 3rd level. That'd take 1 million feet of track, and that train would be out there forever. So what they do is they go onto a short helix, and while the train is on the helix, an elevator mechanism moves the helix up to either the 2nd or 3rd level. Have any of you ever even heard of anybody having a helix on an elevator? It is really clever. But back to Sun and Sand. So this is our yard. We had to shorten it by 6 feet when we brought this into this building. But there are 7 tracks for the red line, 7 for yellow, 5 for blue, and 6 for green. And then down at the bottom, that little city is called Geronimo, and you'll see that's significant because the city on the right, Clifton, that's the birthplace of Geronimo. Get some more Arizona history into your layout, right? Now, at the other end of the yard, on that corner, there's this module. That circle, this is an Indian powwow, and that circle turns. And the Indian dancers that are on the turning platform, they also individually turn. And at the same time, there's tom-tom music and chanting. Now, we're located only 2 miles from a major reservation. We're probably 4 miles south of another one, and we're really close to 2 others. There is no way we were going to build anything like this without getting approval, because like even the symbology on those teepees, a lot of you got to be really careful when you do something like this, not to insult people, because you can do it pretty easily. So we had people from the tribes come over look at the teepees and the symbology that was on them. Look at the way this was all laid out and what the tom-toms and chanting sound like. And the tribes blessed this. So that was
Hmm.
just something to make sure we didn't cause any problems. So this is looking across the layout again. You're actually looking at just off the picture at the bottom is Luke Air Force Base with fighter jets taking off. Got a lot of planes there in the air. Some more layout shots. This is the waterfront scene. You can see it's very well lit. If you're outside the layout looking in from the aisleways, if these lights are off, this is just a dark bunch of plastic buildings. But by lighting this up, this made this whole thing come alive and really made people notice it and talk about it. So we are lighting up everything we can because it really brings life to the layout. This is one of our oldest modules, an N module. Frankly, I'm not crazy about it. If I had my druthers, I'd tear those bridges out and put in trestles. But usually when you make suggestions like that, they say, well, that's great, go ahead and do it. Well, I'm not going to do it. Now then, something that's really clever. Actually, this lady's looking at the O, but what I wanted to point out is she's holding this kid. So the kid can see through the glass and see in here. So there's nowhere on any of the three layouts where that glass is short on that, where people can reach over and get to the layouts. So that means they can get pretty up close to them with the glass. But we also didn't want people having to hold kids up all the time. So just to her right, there are two steel pillars, and that's where the difference is between O and the N scale layout. If she goes between those pillars, there's an aisleway going up there. Same way with all three layouts. The floor slants up on a grade 4 feet to where when she gets up to the 4 feet on the other end, she can take that particular kid and set him on the floor, and that kid can stand on the floor and look down on the layout. So here she has to hold him. On the other end of the layout, the kid can be down on the floor on their own looking at it. So that's something the architect did that was really clever. Showing off some of our modeling. Now then, Route 6600th birthday, right? We got to honor it. So we've got a lot of Route 66 on the layout. Things like reptile farms, teepees. If any of you were on Route 66 or know about it, this is all stuff off of Route 66. This arrow trading post down at the bottom. Actually, in real life, there were two arrows there. And in the current day, one arrow is broken, but it's still laying there. And we originally modeled it that way. But it looked like we were just sloppy and not having our layout cleaned up with that broken arrow laying there. So we took it off so it looks better. Here's some more Route 66. This is all stuff that was there. This airplane garage in the middle. The taco stand, the old motel down off to the right. So at the end of the building, there are two movie screens. If we want to put a camera on our layout on a train, we can run it on these movie screens if we want. Otherwise, they usually have old movies. This is a Laurel and Hardy thing that's running. But this layout, this engine breaking through the bricks coming in, the architect did that. And I like to think that as a bunch of model railroaders coming to Scottsdale to play trains with us. So come join us. If you're going to come to Scottsdale, this is a destination. You've got to see it. Bring the kids. Like I said, it's the #1 park in the country. And get on the website. Tell us you're coming. Tell us when you're coming. And we'll make sure somebody is there to meet you and let you into the layout and let you run trains. So come enjoy it with us. Any questions?
Steve, that's fantastic. I want Scott Moline said he's not jealous, but he wants to run trains. But I disagree with Scott. I'm so jealous that I think on behalf of NRail, we're going to either revoke your membership or charge you $1,000 fee or something. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm just through with my annual business meeting and picnic for Northeast N-Track literally a couple hours ago. And we have no place no place to call home, and I'm feeling sorry for myself, but oh, that was awesome. Wow.
Well, we try to make do. There's just 40 of us just, trying to run a few trains.
Gosh, that's fantastic. There are a couple questions in the chat. What do you Carl wants to know what you use in N-scale for cactus plants.
Well, we've got a fireman that makes extremely good swirl cactus.
Yeah. Handmade, huh?
Yeah, he forms wire and then he puts a kind of a green gummy texture on them. He dips them
Okay.
and they come out real well. And I haven't seen him in a while, but I assume he's still making them.
That's interesting. I was out
But
there
we've got a lot of good swirls.
I was out
For
there
those
in
who don't know,
February. Some
swirls
of
are the
those
ones with
are
the big arms.
in real life, some of those are what, 30 or 40 feet tall. So I guess that'd be a
Oh God, yes, and some
couple
tall.
inches tall anyway, huh?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Is the O scale layout, is that a two rail or a three rail?
Three,
Okay.
three, and they we and HO both kind of stick to the Arizona theme and keep it more railroady. They tend to really lean into the entertainment side,
Yeah,
which they can because they've got all the really great toys that they can put there that do all kinds of things. So they're noisy and loud,
I get
and
it.
one of the restrictions the park had to put on was smoke because they were doing a lot of smoke on the locomotives and really filled that building with smoke. It wasn't good.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, so basically what you're telling me is all in-track clubs around the country really need to get going is 3 million bucks in a building
Yeah, in a park.
and
And
a top park. Yeah.
now we had to we paid for the layout. The club did. The nobody pays to build the layout.
Yeah.
So the clubs had to come up with the money for the layout. And we were lucky since we had that N-track layout. Because when we were building it, oh yeah, I'll give you another piece of advice in a minute. When we were building it, the park kept saying, "How fast can you be up and running?"
Hmm.
And HO said, "Well, we'll be up and running in a year." And O-Scale said, "Well, we'll be up and running about a year too." And they said, "Okay, Steve, how soon can Sun and Sand be up and running?" I said, "3 days." And they said, "What?" We said, "Yeah, we'll just move our N-track lay down there, N-track down there. We'll be running 3 days. We're fine."
Nothing,
But one
nothing like
thing,
being the mash unit of model railroaders here.
any of you that do get involved in something like this, let me give a piece of advice is don't use your don't use your model railroad club hard workers sometimes to do the negotiating and stuff. If you're sitting at the table involved in negotiating for space and that kind of thing, you don't want the model railroader there. The guy you want there is the businessman and the politician.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Over the years, there'd been several attempts to do a building. And over the years, we'd always used let's say, our model railroaders. But when this thing really came around, it got to be extremely political because HO started saying, "Hey, we're HO. We want 70% of the space."
Hmm.
And they were really throwing their weight around. And thank God, because I'm trying like, okay, politically, how do I fight them? And thank God the old president is the one that really stepped up and said, "Hey, we're the big scale, and we think everybody should have equal space."
There you go.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but it was amazingly political and businesslike as opposed to model railroading.
Well, All right, Steve. Fantastic. Thank you so much for the update. Very,
Yeah,
very nice.
I'll stop sharing.
Okay. We're ready to go to our next segment, which is reverser cables with Terry Moore. Reverser cables.
All right. Give me 1 minute to get this going, and we'll be
Yeah.
coming right up.
Welcome to Talkin' T-TRAK. This time we're going to talk about creating some small reverser cables. My personal display layouts use 4 tables, 6 or 8 feet, and Cato extension cords or 3-way extension cords exclusively for wiring. These little cables allow me to reverse the yellow bus track loop, whatever you want to call it, polarity, as required to allow the use of crossovers between the red track and yellow of my 3 loops. We start here with either the Cato DC extension cord or the turnout extension cord. They both use the same wire of a different color and the Tamiya style plugs. Also required is a length of 1/8 inch brass tubing. Insert the brass tubing into the end of the plug over the pin and push it all the way in. You will now be able to pull the pin and wire out of the plug body. Repeat the procedure to remove the second wire and pin. The red and black wiring identifies the reverser cables. I identify the blue and white ones with a piece of black tape. Reinsert the pins in their opposite locations and you're done. This is a graphic version of what I just presented. Insert the tubing over the pin, as in numbers 1 and 2, all the way in compressing the locking tabs. Once the locking tabs are compressed, the wire and pin can be removed. Repeat with the second wire and then reinsert the pins in their opposite positions. The little locking tabs spring back out once they're free of the body, and when you reinsert the pin, the locking tabs pop back out and lock the pin in place. This is my usual standalone layout that I wire with Cato DC extension cords and 3-way extension cords and my reverser cables. 16 feet of tables, double wide with a gap down the middle. The yard at the bottom is mounted backwards, so the red track is on the inside and the yellow outside. The top inside loop is reverse wired. You'll see why. The green loop and green marked wiring helps me keep the wiring straight. The modules are still marked red and yellow. With my layout plan, the red track is not accessible on one side, so my trains cross between the yellow and green loops. The reverser cables are indicated by the black dots, are located where the module connector plugs into the 3-way. This would be perfect for a DC supplied layout. All cables can be run under the modules, but if the yellow loop is to be reverse wired to allow trains to cross between the red and yellow loops, or the green and yellow loops, 8 little reverser cables would be required. The 3 bus branches would be fed from a single 3-way extension cord. The 8 reverser cables could be placed in the 8 red loop power drops, allowing the yellow and green loop trains to cross between them and the red loop, but not between each other, without an auto reverser. This would not be possible on my layout since there are no crossovers between the red and green loops due to the yard. Placing the yard in the middle is too much of a reach for access. So, doesn't get much simpler than this, but there are no options since each cable supplies 2 separate loops. This is for DCC only. On this layout wiring design, the little reverser cables are located between the module's power leads and the 3 ways they would be attached to, those little black dots. This is DC wiring to hide the wiring under the modules. The yellow and green loops are supplied from their own independent power supplies through a 3-way extension cord. The red loop also gets its own power supply, but sometimes I split the loop in half at the junctions, with 2 supplies running 2 trains, allowing split control to control mismatched trains as they enter and leave the blocks. DCC special trains are run on the red loop with the larger 315mm radius corners. Yes, this uses a lot of wiring, but I have a dozen of each. Without the limitations of my layout, any loop supply could be reversed, even the red loop, allowing the trains to cross between the red and yellow or red and green, but not between the yellow and green without an auto reverser or double pole, double throw toggle switch reverser. Top left-hand corner, DCC only. The reverser cables are indicated by those little white and blue X's on the yellow loop feed on that top 3-way extension cord. All things are connected to common 3-way extension cords into a single line to the DCC source. In the middle, also DCC, you see the yellow loop connected to its own 3-way extension cord, the green loop connected to its own 3-way extension cord, and likewise with the red loop. For my layout example, this wiring allows any of the loops to be disconnected from the DCC source and reconnected to a DC source. On the right, the yellow, again, connected to its own 3-way, the green to its own 3-way, the red to its own 3-way, and then those 3 individual 3-ways are connected to individual DC power supplies, allowing either loop to be disconnected from the DC source and reconnected to an independent DCC source. We have so many options. Okay, now, maybe you don't care to hide all the wiring like I try to do if I can, and you don't mind having the wiring running down through the holes between the modules. This will get the job done with fewer and all the same options in DC or DCC. The red loop wires can still be hidden under the modules, but the others will be run down the middle of the loops of modules in that hole. And again, without the limitations of my layout, any loop supply could be reversed, even the red loop, allowing the trains to cross between the red and yellow or red and green, but not between the yellow and green without an auto reverser or double pole, double throw toggle switch reverser. So, top left-hand corner, DCC supply. The red and yellow are connected to a three-way extension cord on that side of the table. The green and red are connected to a three-way extension cord on that side of the table, and then they both connect to a common three-way for a single supply DCC source. If your DCC source is broken into DCC districts, then you could have two sources from those two three-way extension cords. DCC again. For my layout example, this wiring allows any of the loops to be disconnected from the DCC source and reconnected to a DC source. Again, you'll notice that the little reverser cables are indicated by those blue and white long skinny X's. And DC source, also possible. Individual DC source wiring allows either loop to be disconnected from the DC source and reconnected to an independent DCC source. Again, lots of options. Now, I have a friend that brings 4 double modules and 4 Jackson junctions to shows to run his own small inner loop accessible to the outer red track. Sometimes we steal 2 of his junctions for use elsewhere and put them at the end of a branch with 2 standard corners. His inner loop was connected to the passing red bus through a reverser cable to reverse his yellow loop's polarity. Even with heavy bus cables, cattle wiring is used. Layouts often have long stretches without a yellow bus. Feeding an inner loop from a red bus is really quite common. Just remember, the rails are carrying the power too, not just the wiring. If possible, break what might be a long run into 2 smaller sections by placing the source in the middle. Cattle wiring products are perfectly fine for small layouts and power drops on large layouts. After all, you're not pushing 500 megs with 500,000 volts. Thanks for watching.
Okay. Well, that one was tough for me to follow. I hope you guys got it.
Hey, John, we usually post Terry's slides up on the website so that people can go back and go over them again.
Okay, super.
So just go to nrail.org and under resources, you'll find the Talking T-TRAK slides.
So I can do it again, only slower this time.
Right.
The remedial version for John. Got it. Fantastic. Okay, super. Thanks for that, Bruce. All right. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm trying to know what T-TRAK goes to school means. So, Dan, you ready?
All right. Can you hear me all right, John?
Yep, sounds good.
Excellent. Right, try and share my screen.
Here it comes.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Dan, and I run a primary school T-TRAK club in the UK. So I'm going to talk a bit about how the club started, how it works in practice, and what the students actually get out of it. So the club started in 2017 through a workplace volunteer program. My company were looking for people involved in engineering to go into schools and give some sort of practical examples to the kids. So I started doing career talks and careers fairs in schools, but we were encouraged to engage younger students before they'd decided what they want to do as careers, and try and do activities that made things a bit more hands-on. So that led to the idea of starting a club instead of sort of one-off visits to different schools. So I looked at various modular systems, and I discovered T-TRAK, which I hadn't heard of before. As a lot of you will know, the key advantages of T-TRAK are that the modules are small, manageable, and in my case, the students can see the results quite quickly because the module is about the size of a sheet of A4 paper. So that's quite a doable project for one of the kids in the club. It's also relatively low cost. In the photo there, you can see some of our original modules, which are made out of leftover building materials, wood and insulation. So it was helpful that it was low cost, because the club started with next to no budget. So the kids in the club are UK school years 4 to 6, which I'm told are equivalent of US grades 3 to 5. So they're aged 8 to 11. We meet roughly once a week when the school schedule allows. We have a new group each term, and every year we get a new intake. So it's always a bit of a lottery who's going to join the club. Some rejoin, some don't, because I'm competing with all the other club offerings that the school has. So in practice, the number of sessions is limited. At the moment, we seem to be getting about 6 per term once you factor in school events, like parents' evening and school plays and things like that. So progress on our layout is quite incremental, and I have to sort of plan quite carefully to make sure that we can actually finish building it in time for our next deadline. So the main modelling constraint is that we have to fit everything into 1-hour sessions. I'm sure everyone knows that normally when you're doing model railway jobs, sometimes it's 20 minutes of work and a bit of drying time. We have 1 hour per week, so we get a whole week of drying time, whether we need it or not. So that drives how I design the activities, how our modules are built, the sort of modules that we can build, and how the whole club operates. So the kids in the club do real modelling work. They do wiring. I give them color-coded sort of circuits, circuit diagrams that they can follow and assemble. They do scenery. They quite like scenery because that comes together quite quickly and looks good. They operate trains. That's obviously the favourite activity. But they are genuinely sort of building and hopefully learning something in the process. So a big difference from adult model railway groups is there's no homework between the sessions. So for a lot of the kids in the club only exists for that 1 hour that they're in it each week. So some weeks it can feel like a fresh start, like they've remembered nothing from the previous week, and their sort of energy levels can vary quite a lot. If they've had a particularly busy day at school and they've done double PE or something like that, then they can be a bit sort of zoned out in the evenings. So we have to be really quite flexible. So also, the motivation varies quite a bit between individuals. Some students are fantastic and they take ownership and they drive things forwards and they build modules themselves at home with their parents. Whereas others just turn up expecting to be entertained for an hour. So the challenge is to engage everyone in that mixed group all at once. The trick really is to try and teach them something without them realizing that they're being taught. So I try to get them to apply what they already know from what they've learned at school, so they can start connecting that sort of theory with practice. So, again, like a lot of railway modelers, storage is one of our biggest challenges. I thought the school was quite a big building, so there'd be plenty of storage space. But obviously, we're competing with all those science experiments that only get used once a term, and every teacher's storage needs. So we started off with our first set of modules used to live on the floor in the headmaster's office, but some of his colleagues used to sort of mock him for that. That didn't last long because his office was on the opposite side of the school, so from where we met for the club meetings. So the kids used to have to rush over to the office, grab as many modules as they could carry, and then trot back to the classroom. And it would take us at least half an hour of our 1 hour session to assemble the layout. So eventually we managed to negotiate some space a bit closer to where we were working. We had a drawer cabinet with those plastic drawers in that you can see in the picture. They're ubiquitous in schools. They're everywhere. And I built some custom boxes, which you can see on the left in the photo, to store our corners because they're too big to fit in the drawers. But after COVID, the school wanted to use more of that storage space, so we were stuck with the drawers. So our module design is driven by our storage constraints now. So I've developed a sort of 3D print 45-degree corner, so we can fit 2 of those into one drawer, and now we can actually have an oval layout back at the school again for the first time since 2019. So the club displays our layout at school events and some external exhibitions. The school's Christmas fair is particularly busy. It's like a full exhibition condensed into a couple of hours. We've also had great support from some local model railway clubs, the Bentley Model Railway Group and Swindon Model Railway Club, who've invited us along to their local exhibitions. The getting invited to these events is hugely motivating for the students because they're very proud of seeing our big layout in action when we can really set up everything we've got, which we can't normally do in one of our club sessions. So what they love most is driving trains, and particularly modern trains they recognise. Those are the favourites, the ones that they've been on or they've seen come through town. And they also like scenery because that can come together and look quite professional quite quickly. They don't like buildings. Building kits, they're quite fiddly. It actually takes quite a bit of time to get the fine motor skills, I think, to build an N-gauge model building. So we had one exception. There was a boy who was so excited when I brought in a model class 37 that we thought he was having a fit, and the teacher went running over to check he was okay. So to indulge his passion as a train spotter, we organised a special running session for him. But unfortunately, he forgot it was club day that day, and he went home early. So the rest of us played with the class 37s instead. So at exhibitions, I often get someone sort of gesture with a sweeping arm across the whole layout and ask, "How does all of this work?" So the answer to that could be which part of it. The T-TRAK standards. We've sort of we end up functioning as a sort of T-TRAK demonstration as well as a school layout. We use DCC to control our trains, and I've got a signalling simulation based on UK practice. We use it to demonstrate that as well. or the model making, or the way the club works, or how we managed to get it to exhibitions using a pool of volunteers, kids who are in the club and their parents. But really, the whole thing on all facets works because everything can be assembled from small, manageable pieces. So over time, the most rewarding part is when the students get to see the full layout set up at an exhibition, and then they understand that over time it's become a large layout contributed to by lots of students over the last 9 years now, and their module is part of something much bigger. So the layout represents years of work by students who weren't finished the school before the current crop even started. So each student contributes something as their own small little legacy for the next group to build on. So if anyone was thinking about doing something similar, I recommend keeping it simple and working in small steps, and plan your sessions, but you really do have to stay flexible. And most importantly, try and enjoy it. Like all long-term volunteering commitments, it takes support from everyone around you as well as you doing it. So T-TRAK has turned out to be a really effective way of having a model railway club in a primary school. So thank you for listening, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Dan, that's great. That is great. Dan, there's a question from Brian. He wanted to know if the STL files for your 45-degree corner was available anywhere online.
No, that's just something I roughed up myself. They have a chunk missing out of the corner because my friend who prints them for me has only got a 240 by 240 3D printer.
Gotcha.
So I haven't got around to making an extra little bit to stick on to make it the full shape.
And
But I'm working on it.
Mike Skelly asked the ages for the kids. I think you said they were sort of 8 to 11. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, 8 to 11.
So in the U.S., third, fourth, or fifth graders.
Yeah. So it's one of the few activities that we have at school where we have that whole age range in the same group. So that brings its own variety, that you've got to do something that appeals to an 11-year-old that can also be done by an 8-year-old.
Yeah. I can imagine there are times when that's my experience would be trying to corral those kids on a soccer field or something, and that can be quite a lot of work depending upon the day and the context.
I remember in the first session explaining to the kids that we were going to do teamwork, and the teacher said, stopped me and turned to the kids and said, "Now, you've worked as a team in sports, and now you're going to do working as a team to build something." And that was a new concept to them.
Yeah. Here's a question that's really interesting. Do any of your earliest students who are now presumably either graduated or close to it, any of them still with it, or perhaps even helping you as a volunteer? That'd be really cool.
Yeah. There's a handful that still come and help at exhibitions.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed a young lad who sort of catches the same train home from work as I do, and he's got a railway uniform, and he doesn't half look like a kid who used to be in the club. So we may have had one who actually went on to get a job on the railway.
Oh, neat. That's neat. Have you had any? Have you been able to evangelize any other teachers at any other schools to think about this?
Yeah, because I'm not a teacher. I'm a volunteer.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. So I'm a railway engineer. So I when I run the club, I have a teacher to support me,
I see.
He's there to protect me from the kids, and and he sort of makes up for my lack of teaching skills.
Okay.
No, I've not managed to persuade anyone else that this is a good idea. I remember I did have someone come to observe a session because they were interested. And as it was all chaos and me tearing my hair out and kids running everywhere with modules trying to build a layout, the teacher turned to this guy and said, "It's brilliant. The club basically runs itself." So from the teacher's point of view, they just sit back and watch the chaos. There used to be a T-TRAK club at an elementary school in Flagstaff, Arizona. I saw him on the T-TRAK wiki. We were in touch for a short while, but he stopped running his club in 2019. But he was in his 70s, so hats off to him for managing to be in your 70s and deal with a classroom of lively kids.
John, I'd like to put up the poll, and I have a question as well.
Sure. I see Paul had his hand up. I was going to recognize Paul, and then I'll come to Bruce. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Paul.
On one of the pictures of the showing the layout, there were signs with 50p next to a lot of the modules. What was that about?
Yeah, that was the school Christmas fair. So at the Christmas fair is run by the Parent Teacher Association. So people donate 50 pence to drive the train. So we have it's sort of a couple of scale miles. And the trains are speed limited to stop the kids getting too carried away. So they get a sort of 5-minute go, and they get a NRail souvenir for their 50 pence donation.
There you go. All right, Bruce, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, how'd you get your foot in the door if you're not a teacher?
Like I said, I had at work, the company were encouraging people to sign up to this STEM ambassador program. So that's a national scheme here in the UK, where schools can post requests for people with a science or engineering background to come into the school. Or in my case, I was having a beer talking to the headmaster at the barbecue at the school summer fair, and I said, "Wouldn't it be interesting to have a model railway club?" And he thought it was a great idea, and it sort of blossomed from there.
Okay, great.
Fantastic.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Unfortunately, it requires a certain set of mental instability to invest so much time and energy over the years. But thank you for doing it on behalf of all of us who don't have enough energy to do that.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very good, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
All right. Any other business or questions here? We had just a couple minutes before the top of the hour.
There are a few people who haven't responded to the poll yet. Please encourage you to do so. We take your responses seriously and try and find people to give presentations that you request. So,
Bruce, we had our annual Northeast N-TRAK picnic and business meeting today, and voluntold a couple people to do a session on our club history. So we're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. We don't have our own park or our own building or any millions of dollars in the bank, so I've got to go back to the drawing board. But we do have some interesting history, as you know, Bruce.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
All right, folks. All right. I think that's our program for today. I appreciate everybody joining. Your excuse is over, so it's back out to the yard for yard work or whatever else is still on your list. And we will see you back here again next month. ZoomTRAK by NRail. Bye now.